Mr. Boissonnault, and before I go to Mr. Barrett, I'm just going to remind you, sir, that you are here today because of a motion that was passed by this committee, a majority of members on this committee. Mr. Barrett, you have 6 minutes. Go ahead.
Minister, there's fraud and another Randy in a partner call at your company. What's the other Randy's last name?
So, Mr. Barrett, I do not know the name of that person, as I stated in my opening statements. And before at committee, I have no relationship, no operational role with GHI. I do not know that person in question. That person is not me.
What's your percentage stake in the company?
As has been disclosed in my disclosure to the Commission of Ethics, it is 50% stake in GHI that is held in my holding company.
Who are the partners at the company?
I do not know. It is Mr. Anderson, to my knowledge, is the only administrator of that company.
So,
I have no connection other than holding the shares to that company, Mr. Barrett.
Holding half of the shares.
Half of the shares are in my numbered company, as disclosed to the Commissioner of Ethics.
Do you know who holds the balance of the shares?
When I was involved, the last time I looked, it was Mr. Anderson.
So it's your understanding that you and Randy Boissonnault and Mr. Anderson are 50-50 partners in the company.
That is not correct. The shares are held by 2256956 Alberta Limited.
Who owns that numbered
I
company?
Do.
Cute.
It's not cute, Mr. Barrett.
There's a question about this other Randy that's been reported. I know the contention, sir, is that you'd like for this to be something that the opposition has created, but this is reported in the media. And the media has uncovered a number of things, including text message exchanges with someone who's named by one of your partners as a partner, and they refer to Randy. And no last name of that Randy is available. The only Randy we know that's involved with the company is a minister in the Trudeau government. Who were the partners in that company in 2022?
I do not have that information, Mr. Barrett, but let me correct the record, Mr. Chair. To your question, I'll go through you, Mr. Chair. I am not the person in those texts. Mr. Anderson confirmed that it's not me. And I have a quote from the article that you're talking about, Mr. Barrett, which is from the GHI Group, which says, "We have had no direct communication with Mr. Boissonnault at any point in our dealings with Stephen and the companies because I have had no active role in GHI since I was elected in 2021.
Okay. You said publicly you didn't have anything to do with Stephen Anderson's business deals on behalf of your PPE company, Global Health Imports. Is that right?
I have had no active role in GHI since I was elected. And Mr. Barrett, you said yourself in your question this morning, Mr. Chair, may I answer?
Chair,
hang on a sec.
So let's stop the clock. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm going to ask Mr. Barrett to continue. He has another question. Minister, prepare for an answer.
But
go ahead.
On the way the meeting's going to run, I gave Mr. Boissonnault more than twice the amount of time to respond to both of my previous questions than I spent in asking the questions. So if I have a short question and the minister wants to run the clock, that's obviously not going to demonstrate fairness.
I think I made that pretty clear at the top of the meeting, Mr. Barrett, that my expectation today is that as members ask questions, an equal amount of time is going to be given for those responses, Minister, and I ask that all members respect that. I'm not going to be the timekeeper here, other than the 6 minutes, but if I see that a member is going a little bit off in terms of time, then I will intervene. Mr. Barrett,
how much time?
You got 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Go ahead.
Related to deals with the GHI Group, you didn't have anything to do with the alleged wire fraud?
Mr. Barrett, I have been very clear that I've had no operational dealings with GHI since I was elected, and you, sir, indicated off the start that the Randy in the article was not me.
So that company alleges that you were involved. Are they telling the truth?
That company is not, they're not correct because I've had no correspondence from them, and Mr. Anderson indicates very clearly in this morning's article that Randy is not me.
So we have text messages implicating you, sir, in this wire fraud, and it was carried out by your business partner to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And one of them reads, and I quote, "What is going on? I just received this from Randy." It's 1314 MST and 1514 EST. It literally takes 10 seconds to complete a transfer. I'm telling you, we are not allocating like this. Please reach out and see what the reason is now. You assured me this was done this morning, first thing, and allowed you to hold this stock today. It's midday and nothing is completed. I'm calling Felix to discuss, be available for a partner call in 15 minutes, end quote. Sir, it seems like you're trying to conceal your involvement in a matter of fraud. Why?
Michael, Mr. Chair, that is completely beyond the pale. It's completely false, and it's not true. The article states very clearly that the Gowrie Group had no contact with me, which is true, and Mr. Anderson indicated that this is a different Randy. Mr. Barrett, your first name is Michael. Mr. Cooper's first name is Michael. Are we to confuse your two identities here at committee when you ask questions of me that are spurious in nature?
Well,
there's more than one
Mr.
Randy
Chair,
here.
I look forward, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Boissonnault being in opposition and having the opportunity to
He asked a very long question, Mr. Chair.
Having the opportunity
He asked a very long question. I have more
And I
seconds.
realize that, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, thank you. Go ahead.
So there are
Mr. Chair,
other,
I have time on the clock to answer that question.
There are other texts as well that outline how quickly you wanted this wire transfer to go through.
Mr. Barrett,
And
that is not me, and you cannot state that for the record.
Can
That is
we,
simply not true,
can
Mr.
we
Chair.
just
That
hang
is
on a
not true,
sec.
Mr. Chair.
I'm going to, look, I thought I made my expectation very clear at the beginning that questions will be asked and time will be given to respond to that. I am going to Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett, Minister, please don't intervene. I'm going to ask the same of the questioners as well. Mr. Barrett, go ahead. You've got a minute and 12 seconds, sir.
Like the lack of respect for procedure at committee, we've seen the same lack of adherence to ethics rules. The minister talked about Canada's stringent ethics rules. His government, of course, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, has twice been found guilty of breaking those laws, and that's why we have questions about alleged law breaking by our witness, by the minister. The company has been trying to get the money back, the company that was defrauded of $500,000 from your business. Where did the money from the
Mr. Chair,
chair?
it is
A chair.
Point of order, Chair.
he is not stating facts, and I
But
cannot
he
let
didn't finish
falsehoods
his
go, Mr.
question.
Chair.
You're going to have ample opportunity to
30 seconds
answer.
was the length
I
of
know
my
you're
question.
protecting his
And
clips, Mr. Chair,
no,
but
I'm
he
not
is stating
actually.
falsehoods.
I'm not actually, Mr. Boissonneau.
So we have a corrupt minister from a corrupt
Ask
government.
Not true.
Question.
That is
Point
simply
of
beyond
order,
fair. Mr.
Mr.
Chair, that
Chair.
is outrageous behavior by that
Mr.
member.
Barrett,
Can I have my time? I've asked for 2 points of order.
I'm going to go on your point of order. Go ahead, Mr. Brock.
I have never, in my almost 3 years of public service, seen such disrespect
Point of
by
order.
a minister
Point of order.
for the procedures
Point of
here
order.
at committee. He's constantly talking over the witness, and now he's
I've-
talking over the chair.
got Point
of
It is
order.
conduct unbecoming.
I've got your
order.
point of order, Mr. Brock. I appreciate that. Mr. Barrett, you were at 34 seconds in your intervention. So I'm going to ask you to ask your question. And
Point
I'm
of
gonna give
order.
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Housefather. on
Mr.
point of
Chair, referring to someone as corrupt is unparliamentary. I would ask that you order it be withdrawn.
order. Sorry, ask that I order it what?
I would ask that you ask Mr. Barrett to withdraw those comments. That is unparliamentary to refer to someone as corrupt.
Yeah, Mr. Barrett, I am going to ask that you withdraw those comments, please.
Alleged corruption by a corrupt government.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. You
was
you
not
have
my
had,
That was not a withdrawal, Mr. Chair. That was a doubling down.
we've got a point of order from Mr. Villemure. Go ahead, Mr. Villemure. Allez, s'il vous plaît. I don't want this to descend into a point where, you know, everybody's talking over each other. And I'm going to enforce that from this, I've been enforcing it, but I'm going to enforce it from this point forward. It's just, it means that we're going to be wasting our time here and not being able to ask the questions that we want. Mr. Barrett, you've had 34 seconds. Do you have a question for Mr. Boissonneau? Because I want to give an equal amount of time. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Through you, Chair, we'll give the minister an opportunity for transparency. For a first, Minister, will you provide this committee a copy of the letter notifying in writing that you wanted to be removed as a director from this company? And further, will you provide any financial records related to this company? Will you provide them to the committee?
Mr. Chair, there is a well-established practice done by the Ethics Commissioner that every single member around this table has to go through. The standards are higher for parliamentary secretaries and ministers. I have followed that process to the letter. All of those documents were provided to the Commissioner of Ethics. And, Mr. Chair, the Ethics Commissioner sent me and Mr. Barrett a letter indicating that there was no need. He took the decision that there's no need to look into my business affairs, no need to evaluate them. I have followed the letter to the rule. the rule to the letter.
Thank you, Mr. Boissonnault.
I just have a point of order. Mr. Cooper has just called me disgusting, and I would ask that he please remove that from. I mean, it's not appropriate.
I'm sorry, I was dealing with other
point-
issues.
point of order as
I didn't
well.
hear. I didn't hear it, Ms. Damoff.
He's done it
I'm
twice,
sorry.
Chair.
Okay.
Point of
Well, I
order,
didn't
Mr.
hear
Chair.
it, so
Those who
I
live-
apologize.
Mr. Chair, those who live in glass houses should be very
Okay,
careful
that's
about
not a
throwing
point of
stones.
order, Mr.
It
Brock.
is, because
Thank you.
Ms. Damoff used the very same language towards my colleague, Mr. Cooper. I heard it very clearly on more than one occasion, Chair.
So the chair did not hear it because I was obviously busy dealing with some other issues. So I'm going to ask Ms. Damoff that you continue for 6 minutes. Go ahead, please. Not taking into account many of the interruptions that we've had. Mr. Brock, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. With respect, Minister, I share MP Green's latter comments that your testimony has not been helpful. In fact, not only have you been disrespectful, you are exhibiting traits in my old career that I would classify as a lying witness. You've been evasive.
That's not appropriate, Mr. Chair.
Well, it is.
That's not parliamentary language.
I would suggest, Mr. Brock, that you not use that language.
You've got the inability to tell the straight facts and to tell the straight goods, Minister. There lacks the ring of truth in what you have to say.
Go ahead on your point of order, Mr.
Point of order,
McKinnon.
Mr. Brock's language is definitely unparliamentary. He needs to withdraw it, and he needs to apologize.
I'm not withdrawing, Chair.
No, he used a different context. I'm going to allow him to do it. I'm going to ask him to continue. You've got a couple minutes, Mr. Brock. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Mr.
on the same point of order.
Go ahead, Ms. Damoff, on the same point of order.
I've heard in the House many times the Speaker say that you can't say indirectly what you, or that you can't say directly, and that is exactly what Mr. Brock has done, and we cannot call each other liars or providing untruths to Parliament.
I appreciate that. I think Mr. Brock understands your point of order. I'm going to ask him to continue for the next couple of minutes. Go ahead.
And Canadians are watching. They take particular attention every time a minister appears at committee. And what you've done, sir, is just displayed a complete lack of respect for policies and procedures at this committee, leaving aside the evasiveness of your responses and clearly the lack of ring of truth, as I've indicated. So on the issue of what was reported this morning in the global news, did you take it upon yourself to reach out to your former partner and ask for clarification as to who this other Randy was?
So, Mr. Brock, on that particular point,
Yes
I have
or
no
no, sir? Did
operational
you reach?
role.
I've got 3 minutes.
I have seconds to
Sir,
respond to
I have
your...
got- I've
Mr.
got
Chair,
3
I give you
minutes.
Point of order.
time to respond.
Mr. Brock, just allow the minister to respond to the question. I know that we're on short timelines here, but please allow Mr. Boissonnault to respond to that. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I have no operational role in that company. I am not the Randy in the article today. And let me give you an example, Mr. Chair. I don't know why Mr. Brock received income from the province of Ontario while he's been serving as an MP, but I assume that he cleared that with the Ethics Commissioner in the same way that I cleared my business dealings with the Ethics Commissioner, and no investigation or evaluation of my business affairs was
Mr.
taking
Brock,
place.
go ahead.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair. The question that Mr. Brock asked was well over a minute, and the response was 25
Well,
There
I
was a
think he
preamble,
concluded.
there was a question, yes or no.
I think he
So I'll ask
concluded.
again, Minister.
Go ahead, Mr. Brock,
You're
please.
laughing at the whole process,
No,
but Canadians are not laughing at you, and they're not siding with you. Did you reach out to Mr. Anderson this morning after you read the Global News report, yes or no?
I am not the Randy in that report.
Did you
The
call
articles
Mr. Anderson?
No, why would I call Mr. Anderson? I
Point
would
of
not
order,
know.
Chair. Point
So
of
the
order,
answer-
Chair.
Clearly,
Yeah.
Mr.
I cannot
Anderson
do
didn't want
that.
to
Mr.
provide
Brock,
the surname
Mr.
of
Brock,
Randy.
Under
Mr.
the
Brock,
ethics,
the
Mr.
answer,
Chair.
he
I
said
gave the
no.
answer.
He said no.
Chair,
Are you on a point of order?
Yes,
Mr.
I
Young?
am,
Go
Chair.
ahead.
Out of respect for our interpreters, and this keeps happening, people are interrupting.
I agree.
And it's so unfair to the
Okay.
people that work so hard for us.
Thank
So
you.
if we could please
Yeah.
just knock it
And
off.
I've made that very clear. Go ahead, Mr.
So,
Brock.
Randy,
You've got
so-
like literally 20 seconds, sir.
Minister, will you provide to this committee details of your text messages for all the phones that were in operation on September the 22nd, 2022, so that this committee can determine if you are in fact the Randy that the text messages are referring to, the Randy that the other partner wants to communicate with. Will you reach out to your service provider and provide us with details
Okay.
of your text messages on that day for all your devices?
Minister,
Yes or no?
quick response, Minister, please.
Mr. Chair, I have no operational role in this company. I do not know who this Randy is. It is not me, and it's clear in the article that it's not me.
Thank you, sir. In order to move along. Mr. Cooper, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister Boissonnault, you held the title of partner at GHI before you were elected, correct?
I recall, I actually can't remember that, but partner was the title that I used while I was operating the company.
Thank you.
Mr. Cooper.
Thank you for confirming that. And just at GHI is not exactly a big operation. There was you, there was Anderson, and there were a few employees, correct?
Correct.
And so I pose to you, through you, Mr. Chair, then who was the other Randy?
I do not know who the other Randy was. They were somebody hired
Thank you.
after
You
I
say
was,
you
but
claimed-
I do not know who that person
it
is,
was
Mr.
4
Chair.
seconds, 4 seconds. Mr. Cooper, go ahead.
You have a 50% stake in the company. There's only a handful of people there, and you presently have a 50% stake in GHI, and you mean to tell me that you have no idea out of a handful of people, if not you, who the other Randy is. Are you serious?
20 seconds. Go ahead, Minister.
I have had no operational involvement in this company since I was elected. The company has hired and probably let go people since I was there. I am not allowed to know about the operation of this company, Mr. Cooper, because it is not permitted by the Ethics Commissioner, and so I followed all the rules.
Thank you for that. Minister, that is nonsense, and you know it. But I'm going to go
It's not
to the
nonsense,
text.
Mr. Chair. That is
Mr.
not a fair statement. It's not nonsense. It is the
Let him
truth.
finish, please.
Sure.
Mr. Boissonnault. Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Minister, your answer simply doesn't add up. But there's more to it than that, because if it's some other Randy, then why did the Gowie group believe that the Randy referenced in the text messages was you? Why?
15 seconds, Minister.
Mr. Chair, it would be inappropriate for me to have anything to do with operational matters. I stepped away from the company in the fall of 2022. Of course, I don't know who the employees are. And in the article
Why is
today,
why
it
is
says that I am
Minister,
not
doesn't add up.
that Randy.
Doesn't
He's got 3 seconds. Go ahead, Minister.
I am not the Randy in this article, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
doesn't add up, Minister. And if it's not you, how is it that Global News couldn't verify who the Randy was? Anderson said there was some other Randy in charge of logistics, but when Global News looked into it, they found that the guy who held himself out as responsible for logistics is one Edward Anderson, not a Randy.
Mr. Cooper, I have no operational relationship to that company, and so the matters of staff are not in my purview. And let me state again for the record, from this morning's article, from the Gowie Group, we have had no direct communication with Mr. Boissonnault at any point in our dealings with Stephen and the companies, and Mr. Anderson has said that Randy is not me, and I have not received any communication
Minister,
from
Mr. Cooper, go ahead.
this group.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Minister, in looking at the text message from Randy to Anderson, it states it's 15:14 Eastern Standard Time. This is a text to someone who is in Alberta in a text message about a client in California. What is 15:14 Eastern Time? Well, it happens to be the time zone of Ottawa. Just another coincidence, Randy?
I mean, I have no idea because I did not receive those texts, and I have no operational relationship to this company.
Be available
it's
for-
a time zone
Mr. Cooper, just let
in
him
a text.
respond, please.
It's a time zone in a text that I have nothing to do with.
Well,
Mr. Anderson has said that's not
it's another-
me.
it's another
Mr. Gowie,
piece.
Mr.
It's
Chair,
another
Mr.
piece.
Cooper,
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I am
Cooper.
not being
Doesn't add up.
interrupted.
Mr. Cooper, he's got like 8 seconds. Let him respond, please. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you,
Boissonnault, and
Mr.
then you can
Chair.
ask your next
I am
question.
not the Randy in question. Mr. Anderson has indicated that I'm not the Randy in question, and the Gowie Group has said they've had no communication
Mr. Cooper,
with
go
me.
ahead.
And so not only, Eastern Time, Ottawa, also be available in 15 for a partner call. You said you had previously been a partner. Just another coincidence? Just another Randy?
The operational word in your statement, Mr. Cooper, is previously. I ceased to be an officer and a director of GHI in October of 2021, full stop.
Ed, you got 25 seconds.
Minister, the Gowie Group thinks it's you. Global News can't track down whoever Randy is. The Randy who's texting happens to be referencing Eastern Time. You happen to be a member of Parliament serving a lot of your time in Ottawa. You said you were a partner. The text message references a partner. This is a small operation. You have a 50% stake in the fact that you can't identify who the other Randy is doesn't pass the smell test. And if there isn't another
Thank you,
Randy,
Mr.
then
Cooper.
you, sir, broke the law.
Mr.
Thank you.
Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
May I
That's
respond,
it.
Mr. Chair?
It's the end of the time. You can respond in the next round. Mr.
Sure.
Fisher, go ahead, 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Can I